As usual, it's a privilege and honor to be here for you one more Sunday. I'm just excited. God has been so good for us and to us, and I hope those who have been listening has been good to you as well. I hope you sing out of this word. This is Pastor J.C. Cross at Dorcas-Field Baptist Church. Charity is key. Thank you.
Praise the Lord, everybody. Yes, there's a lot of reasons why we ought to be praising Him right now. Again, I said there's a lot of reasons why we ought to be praising God right now. I'm not talking about a thank you praise. I'm talking about a praise that don't need a thank you. I'm talking about a praise for just praising Him for who He is. Many people only want to thank God and put their hands together when something happens. But God is asking for a praise that nothing needs to happen. And you're still able to bless Him like something has happened. Oh, somebody don't hear what I'm saying. A lot of times God will hold back some things because we aren't praising Him. We're only giving Him a reciprocal praise. Meaning something's happened that He's done for you. And because that happened, now I am going to praise you. God ain't looking for that. He's looking for something that even when times are tough, I'm still praising His name. He's looking for something when my body's racked with pain. I'm still praising His name. And He is calling for a church that praises Him in all times. He said, at all times I will bless the Lord. And His praises shall continually be in my mouth. Meaning continually means I don't care what's going on the outside. I'm still going to bless Him. Things may be going bad, but what? I'm still praising Him continually. And that's how we ought to be, church. And this morning we're even talking about praise. Coming out of the book of Joshua, I believe it's the 6th chapter, starting at the first verse, going down through verse 6, I believe. Verse 5, I'm sorry.
7 times, and the priest shall blow with the trumpets. And it shall come to pass that when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, and when ye hear the sound of the trumpet, all the people shall shout with a great shout. They shall fall down flat, and the people shall ascend up every man straight before him. Actually, I'm going to see. And Joshua the son of Nun called the priests and said to them, take up the ark of the covenant, and let 7 priests bear 7 trumpets and ram's horns before the ark of the Lord.
My praise processed my promise.
All right.
Let that sink in real quick. My praise processed my promise. If you look at this text here, we dealing with a very familiar group of people. Israelites. And at this point in time, the Israelites were on the edge of their promise. They could see their promise. But yet there stood yet another obstacle to gain the promise that was given to them. I don't know about you, but there have been many times in my life that God has taken me to the edge and got me close to that promise. But yet another obstacle stood in my way. And many of us can even testify to that in our own lives, that God has taken you for such a long journey. And the very thing that you have been praying about, and the very thing that God has promised you, you're able to see it. But you can't just go grab it. Because there's something in They had just been wandering the wilderness for 40 years. And then during those 40 years, Moses was their leader. And at the beginning of those 40 years, he sent in 12 spies to go into the land. They have not possessed it now. But there was a promise. Somebody hear what I'm saying? There was a promise. But they have not attained the promise. And Moses sent in 12 men, each from the 12 tribes of Israel. And he said, go into that land. Tell me about the fruits. Tell me about the strongholds. Tell me if it's heavily fortified. Tell me if it's guarded. Tell me about the gates. Tell me about the soldiers. Tell me about the people. Tell me about all the riches that are in that land. The promise was already written. But sometimes it feels good just to see it. You may not have it, but sometimes it's just good to see your promise. I'm not talking to somebody. Come on. That sometimes it encourages you when you're going through the process of just by seeing what you're going to get. You may not have obtained it, but just seeing it sometimes encourages you. And it also encourages them because right now, currently, they're living in a wilderness. They didn't have a home. They were migrant people, going from tent to tent, from place to place. And they really didn't have something called home. And sometimes in the middle of your journey, church, you don't have a home. That you're always on the go. Always on the move. Always trying to find that road that leads you to your promise. And sometimes God wants to let you know that it ain't easy. You got to stay in the wilderness just to wait on your promise. Sometimes you just got to stay in the desert and not have the food on the table like you used to have it, clothes on your back like you used to have, and water running like you used to have. And sometimes you just got to wait in the wilderness. But if you read your scriptures, although the Israelites were not rich, it said that their clothes did not wear, nor the shoes on their feet go bare. So somebody here needs to know that although you may have to go through a wilderness, it's part of your process. Somebody here needs to be encouraged that even though you may not have your promise yet, you still have to act like it's already done. You have to praise like he's already done. You have to act like he has already given you the victory. Because if he's sustaining you through your wilderness, he is prepping you for your promise. And the Israelites were sitting there for 40 years, and Moses had them come back to him. And he had different reports. They started out talking about how great the land was. It's full of fruit, Moses. It's full of riches, Moses. It's all that the promise said it would be. It's truly a land of milk and honey. Everything that you were prophesying to us about Moses, it is true. But Moses, my promise got problems. My promise has problems. Although it has a land of milk and honey. Although it's full of riches. Although it has all of this money and all of this land, Moses, there's a problem in the promise. yourself, you've got to activate him.
That's right.
And if you do not fight, you will not activate God. So the enemy tries to dissuade you from activating God by going to fight your fight.
Wow.
Why do you think things happen in your life, church? It's to dissuade you from calling on the name of the Lord. Why do you think things happen in your life, church? It's because he don't want you to fight that fight. Why do you think things happen in your life, church? Because they don't want God to get the glory out of your life. The best fight that Satan can fight is you not fighting the fight in the beginning. He will try to distract you. He will try to do things. All he wants to do, not all he wants to do, all he can do is make it appear to be difficult. Oh, somebody hear what I said? All he can do is make it appear to be difficult. He has the power to appear, but he does not have the power to control. Oh, somebody hear me? He has to get permission to control. See, you hear what I'm saying right now? He has to get the permission to control situations, and it's under supervisory approval. So until things happen in Satan's favor, he has to first go to God and say, can I do this? So they went back to Moses and said, that's too difficult. But then there was two other brothers in the camp. 2 out of 12, church, that said a totally different story. They said Moses, yes, is full of milk and honey. Moses, yes, is full of riches and glory. Moses, there's so many great things about this city. And Moses, truly, we can possess this land. 2 out of 12. Only they can have this land. Because if you believe in the promise, then you also believe that God has already prepared you. When you believe in the promise, you also believe in the plan. Meaning that I believe in every step that God has between me and my promise, he's already taken care of. And many people just believe in the promise but don't believe in the plan. You believe at his word, but if you don't like the plan, you don't believe in the plan anymore. And that means you still got to wait. Why did they have to wait? Because they did not believe. Even Moses said there was a quicker way to get there, church. They could have got to Jericho faster. But Moses said, if we take them the short route, if I take them the shortcut, if I take them to the direct line, they will not be ready to receive the promised land. Because if I take them the short route, they will have to go through the Amalekites. If I take them the short route, they will have to go through the Hittites. If I take them the short route, they will have to go to war before they are prepared to fight. So it was a praying prayer that our faith just can't cash because we're not ready. So 40 years go by. And now Moses is off the scene. And now one of those 12 or one of the 2 that believed in the promised land, he took over by the name of Joshua. And the first manner of business before they went into the land of promised land was to get circumcised. Preparing themselves. Grown men now had to go and get circumcised. Their warriors had to get circumcised before they could enter into the promised land. And God is telling somebody preparing you for that promise. But my praise proceeded my promise, processed my promise. So now, after they have gone through a little bit of healing, he's now telling them now it's time to go take the city. And as I began to read, I wanted to get a definition of what process means. It is to perform a series of operations in order to change or preserve it. God is taking your promise through some changes.
All right now. Take your time.
Meaning that you are going through different processes or steps in your life to get you ready to have the promise.
That's all right.
Your praise is moving your promise closer to you.
Yeah.
Somebody hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The more I praise him, the closer my promise is coming to me.
Yeah.
I didn't say you get to your promise. I said the promise get closer to you. You hear what I'm saying now? Because your praising is not something that's physical. Your praising is something that's spiritual, grabbing and reaching for your promise. And your praise is the thing that's bringing it closer to you.
Hallelujah. Praise God.
My praise is not the result of God's action. My praise is a result of my faith in God. Meaning I'm not going to praise him just because he blessed me. I'm not going to praise him just because he did something for me. I'm praising him because I have all complete faith that he is God. He don't have to do something for me to praise him for, because now if you do that, you're only limiting your praise to what he blessed you with. When God is bigger than what he blessed you with, he is the blessor. He has infinite power to bless you. So that means you must have an infinite praise to bless him.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
You ever had something that you wanted and you put in some paperwork? And I know all of us have done this before. If it takes a little while, call them up on the phone. And you say, I put in my paperwork however many weeks ago. Some of us are impatient and say, I put it in yesterday. And you call them up and you say, my name is so-and-so. You tell them the date that you put in your papers. And the one thing you either want to hear is it has been done, but many times you hear it's being processed. Somebody here needs to praise him for the process. Because a blessing delayed is not a blessing denied. Meaning that if God is looking at your paperwork and he is processing your prayer, that must mean it's in his desk and he is reviewing all the things that it takes to have your blessing come to fruition. And many of us want to rush the process meant to be based. Two different ways that we're using the promise. Meaning that the promise, God said something to you, but it has not happened yet. It has not been made manifest in the flesh yet. But all it is words right now. But if you have faith, it becomes more than words. Oh, so I'm about to preach real good right now. And because it becomes more than words to you, you can praise him in advance. Meaning, I am writing you a check of praise before you even cast my prayer. You heard what I'm saying? I have not received what I was praying for. But in advance, before I receive it, I am acting as though it has already been given to me. Going in and debit that from my praise account, Lord. Take it right there because I'm going to bless you before I have received it. So it comes before the promise, and many people get it all mixed up. You got to get the promise, and then you're praising him. God is saying, I want you to praise me before it has come into your possession. Don't be afraid, church, if God is taking you to another direction. If he is trying to expand your territory, do not be afraid. Don't be afraid of where he's taking you. And many of us are looking at the new destination because it's bigger than what we've already had in the past. And you start getting scared. But if God has promised you something, that must mean he has a plan set in place for you to not only receive but also maintain it. It says what he has ordained, he has maintained. It has already been researched by the Father. It has already done some background searches by the Father. He has already put structures in place to keep it up by the Father. He's done all of the legwork for you. All you've got to do is step out. Hallelujah, somebody. And the reason why people get fearful of their Jerichos is because it's got walls. And you've never been there before. And it's been what you ever had before. But God is saying, do not be afraid of the new destinations that I have for you. Do not be afraid of the journey that I'm giving you. Do not be afraid when I'm enlarging your territory. Do not be afraid.
Yes, sir.
The enemy wants you to look at the big enemies, the walls. But if God is on your side, he's bigger.
That's right. Yes, indeed.
Now, let's just be truthful. Let's lay our holier than thou on the side real quick. We all have gone through some things in our life where you know that it wasn't nothing but God.
Nothing but.
Some of us have been through sicknesses and knew there was nothing but God. Some have filed for bankruptcy. God has restored your finances. And he knew that it was nothing but God.
Nothing but God.
Some of you have had broken homes in the beginning.
Yeah.
But then God had changed your life through a process. And now you knew that it was nothing but God.
Nothing but God.
But even through all of the walls that God has torn down in the past in your life, even through all of the victories that you've won in your past, there's always walls that you run into no matter how long you've been Holy Ghost filled and fire baptized. There are some walls now that you can give a good praise dance in the church. But there are some walls, even if you have the best God could have healed you from cancer. He could have done all these things, but there are things in your future
Oh, my Lord Jesus.
that you run into that seem to outweigh what he's done in the past. Oh, I'm about to preach on that.
Oh, yeah.
But that's part of the process, church. Because if he gives you something that's less than what he already given you in the past, it's not going to do the same type of good that it is if it's something bigger.
Yes. That's right. Yes. Thank you. That's right.
So yes, he's done all these things for you, but there will be some things even in your future that even when you go back to the time your first family, you still have a hard time believing in that promise.
Yeah. Lord Jesus. Tell the truth.
But that's when you got to praise.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Because your praise is going to process
Yeah.
all of the things that you're going through so you can see your promise.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
So he said, walk around the walls for 6 days one time.
Yeah.
And on the seventh day, you're going to walk around the walls 7 times.
Yeah.
And then you're going to blow some trumpets, and your walls are going to fall down. Then as I was beginning to read the scripture some more, the Lord even opened up my gaze a little wider. And many people are praying that the walls represent something on the outside. The enemy's got something that can keep it from me. The enemy's got something in my promised land that I need to attain. The enemy's got something there that God has already promised me years ago. But then God opened up my eyes to say that sometimes inside of that wall is that old man that keeps trying to find its way in your new stuff. And many times it's trying to keep you from possessing what God has for you, like your fear. Oh, somebody hear right there. Like your fear is hiding on the inside of the Jericho walls and saying, do not come in because this is uncharted territory. You don't want this land. It's too hard for you to possess. All the devil is lying on the inside of that land. It's not coming from the outside, but it's coming from the inside. And you have to have a man versus me, a me versus me conversation. And so walls have been in your life. Even some of us have some things in our past that our parents have done to us, and it has created a wall. And now you cannot love. You cannot be vulnerable. You cannot be open. You have so many things that are going on the inside. It's not against the enemy, but the enemy is yourself. Hallelujah, somebody. And many people focus on the outside enemy, but the enemy is lying on the inside, not allowing you to progress in your life because you do not want to be open. I am scared to get hurt. I'm scared to be loved. I cannot love. Look at my past. It's so bad. I cannot humble myself in all of these walls.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Thank you, Jesus.
Have begun to build in your life, and your relationships always fail because you never can be vulnerable again because of the hurt and the pain that you've had in your past. And Satan is using those emotional barriers to have feel that I can't trust her, I can't trust him, I can't call all of these things. And we always have been taught that the enemy is something that I can see, something that's not me, something that's on the outside. But the enemy is having a field day on the inside of us. Because if you're always looking for the outside, you're never looking at the inside.
Hallelujah.
Wonder why nothing ever progresses in your life. It's because you always, every time you get to the edge of your promise, you begin to get scared and you crawl behind your wall again. Every time God's about to bless you in the new realm, you begin to look like this is something that I cannot understand, and you crawl back into your wall. When God is trying to take you to another level, you always say, I don't know about that, and I have to withdraw myself. And time again, you are not opening yourself to God's blessing because you're hiding behind the wall. Because the wall is used for two things: to keep people out and keep things in. And many of us are walling ourselves up and not allowing God to come. Oh my God. Am I preaching another angle? You are building up a wall that you're not allowing things to get in. And God is sitting out there watching around your wall saying, I'm trying to bless you. 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 But you got these walls up. I'm trying to give you a husband, but you got the walls up. I'm trying to give you a wife, but you got the walls up. I'm trying to bless you. I'm trying to bless you with the walls.
Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus.
Oh, standing firm. But somebody needs to find the praise in the middle of your process. Somebody needs to find the praise in the middle of your problem. Somebody needs to find the praise when you don't understand what God is trying to do in your life. Somebody needs to find the praise when He's trying to take you somewhere that you've never been before and you're starting to get scared. Lord, where you're trying to take me? I've never been here before, and my flesh is trying to get me back in a comfort zone, but my spirit man is born with my flesh trying to say, go out and launch out a little deeper.
Hallelujah.
And he just edified some more stuff to me. We are dealing with the mindset of people that have been in bondage for 400 years. He's dealing with a group of folks who has been under the taskmastership of a pharaoh for many years. He's dealing with a type of people who have been on a run for 40 years. He's been dealing with people who just lost their leader not too many days ago. He's dealing with people who've been living in the wilderness paycheck to paycheck for all of these 40 years. They're not rich. They're just barely getting by. They're barely making ends meet. And he's trying to take them to a level that they've never been before. But they have the mentality of someone who's still a slave.
Thank you, Jesus.
And when you have a slave mentality, that you begin to wall yourself up in an area where you, oh my God, where you feel safe, even though slavery's all around you. How do you think prisoners are able to survive in prisons? Because they make a wall, a space in their mind where they are able to go to so that they can be safe and have some type of comfort and don't allow things to get in and they don't allow things to get out. So when God is trying to take you to a promise, but you still have a slave mentality, there is going to be a struggle on the inside because God is trying to process the slave out. When you are released from prison, you are being processed out of a jail cell. There is some steps. There are some things that take place in order for you to have your release.
That's right.
And God is promising you some things, but He has to process the slave mentality out of your mouth. He's got to process the slave mentality by the way you walk. He has to process the slave mentality out of the way you think. He has to reprocess the slave mentality out of the way you react to certain things. So you have to be processed. Because the process is going to hurt sometimes. The process ain't going to be the way you want it because what you want ain't always a part of God's plan.
That's right. Lord Jesus.
So He says, walk around Jericho. And what was happening? The people in Jericho began to get scared. Because they knew.
Go ahead on.
It's funny how the enemy can pay homage to the God more than you do. Even through all that God had brought them from. There were people in the Israelite camp that did not believe in the promise. But the enemy, at the sight of God's people, gave God the very people that God was serving. They were watching every time the people marched around. And they even had 2 spies to go in the last time, and they stayed with Rahab, I believe her name was. And they took they knew where every stronghold was. And Joshua said, spare her house and her household. And on the 7th day, church, they marched 7 times around there. But before they did that, God took Joshua aside and said, look and see this land that you are about to possess. Because sometimes God will have to have you see it before you can feel it. Sometimes God will allow you to see where you're going so that you can know that this is the plan. Sometimes you've got to see some things in your life. That's why God will give you nuggets of substance while you are going through hard times. And the reason why he does that, church, is to remind you that he is there in the middle of the plan. He does these things to remind you that I have not forsaken you. He does these things to remind you that he does hear your prayers. What happens? They take the Ark of the Covenant first, and they go around 7 times. And church, they're not using the war trumpets. They aren't putting their men of war in the fighting mode. They are using the trumpets for the Jubilee, the praise trumpets. I'm not using the trumpets that I'm about to go fight. I'm using the trumpets that I'm about to go praise. Now, mind you, church, before they blew the trumpets, the walls were still standing. Praise is faith in action. Because I'm already believing, and I'm praising as though it's already here. So it's already being put in action by the way that I praise him. Psalms 150 says, everything that hath breath, praise ye the Lord. David says that I shall You start caring about what's going on in the inside. Because God is trying to have a time and space with you, and you're too worried about somebody else. And you're missing out on the connection and the revelation that God is trying to have when he inhabits the praises of his people. He's trying to live with you. I can't do that. I don't want them to see me in a way like that. I can't shout. It might not look right. I may not be on beat. I don't know, but they may look at me differently next Sunday. They may say, what happened to you? But I need somebody to praise God. You have got to have a David-like praise, because he began to relish God in his presence. He began to give God all of his glory. All the stuff that I've been through, and I finally got the ark in Jerusalem. Hallelujah. I will be so profane. I will dance even worse than what you saw me dance before, because God is just such a good God. Your deliverance is in your praise. The job you're praying for is in your praise. Somebody hear what I'm saying right now? It's in the middle of that praise there. The relationship you're trying to repair, or the relationship you're trying to have, is living in the middle of your praise. The forgiveness that you're trying to get, or the forgiveness that you're having a hard time giving, is living in the middle of your praise. The thing that praise is linking your promise or your prayer with the promise. So that means if you are believing in God right now, you can praise God. I'm going to need y'all to praise God for 10 seconds. Because the process, church, sometimes takes a long time. It helps that you praise. Give me a couple more minutes here. You see now, even in my fleshly life, when I get stressed out, if I go to the gym, I feel better. Because I'm working out all of my stress in a physical action. Let me just seem cute all the time. When it comes to praising God, sometimes you gotta sweat. Sometimes praising God. Sometimes you gotta cry. Sometimes praising. It ain't about the images that I'm perceiving to get. I'm letting my walls down. Hallelujah. Somebody. Hallelujah. Somebody. As they walk around the wall, the wall was still standing. As they walked around the wall was still standing. As they walked around the wall was still standing. And many of you have been walking around your promised land, and your walls are still standing. But when they began to praise, hallelujah, somebody. When they began to praise, the walls began to come down. Not by the walking, but by the praising. Not by the walking, but by the praising. And somebody needs to get down deep and find that praise that you've been hiding in that wall. You got to go find that praise that seems to kind of elude you. Find that praise that got hidden back in your closet and sitting there waiting to come out. They became a rumbling in the crowd. As they began to praise the process that they've been going through. I don't know about you, but when I'm in a probably done something, I act real crazy because I come with that same type of emotion and energy that I've been holding through my process. And I let it all out when it comes to serving my God. And they let all the 400 years of being enslaved, and let the 40 years in the wilderness. All that pent-up emotion, all that pent-up slavery came out in that praise. And as they echoed, it boomed. And the walls came tumbling down. And somebody wants to knock some walls down. I need somebody to praise some walls down. You got to learn how to praise the walls down. I'm talking about a good hallelujah. I'm talking about a good thank you, Jesus. I'm talking about a deep, good thank you, Jesus. Another hallelujah on top of Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Nissi, Jehovah Rapha, Elohim, Emmanuel, Jesus Christ, the Rose of Sharon. I don't care how you want to say it. I don't care how you want to praise it. You got to praise it. You got to praise it. Shout and your walls will come down. Praise and your walls will come down. Hallelujah, somebody. Hallelujah, somebody. When the walls came down, the walls made a ladder that took them to, oh my God, it made a ladder that ascended them to their promise. God will allow the walls to come down in such a way that you walk on the very walls that can house you. The very thing that kept you bound will be your steps to order you in the, oh my God, the steps of a good man ordered by the Lord. And if you back down the wall, he will make them all your steps. He will order you. Hallelujah. Don't sit down when you pray. Your body may be afflicted, but you can still clap your hands. Your body may be feeling ill, but you can still say hallelujah. Anyhow, I ain't gonna let my trouble get me down. The promise had gold on the inside. The promise had silver. The promise had land. The promise had homes. All the things that they had been hoping for was in the land. That wall wasn't coming down by just walking.
Yes, thank you, Jesus.
Many of us stuck in a revolving door. And God is sitting there right outside your wall. I'm going to go ahead and dare say this. God was waiting at your promise before you even got there. Because he was part of your process on the inside. And he's already there waiting at your promise. But he's just waiting for you to be processed. And he's sitting there after being processed over years. You still owe me something. You still owe me something. And I ain't gonna do nothing until you give me what you owe me. Many of us, good sanctified Christians, are so used to God's blessings. Time and time and again, we're so used to God being a benevolent God. He's such a good God. And he always bails me out. Time after time. He keeps bailing me out. I fall down and he helps me get back up. Time and time again. The Lord comes and rescues me. Time and time again. He comes and says, I'm here. Time and time again. He kept me before I fall. Time and time again. He heals my body. Time and time again. He helps my finances. And we forget. Let's give it just a little more time. Because part of my promise is expectation. But we take expectation in the wrong type of way. I expect him to bail me out, yes. But I also got to praise him and go both ways. He expects me to praise him too. Some of us folk just got it too good. You keep getting, you keep bailing me out. Got it too good. We expect it over and over. I don't care what I've been through. God gonna come and rescue me. Time and time again. We start expecting some things from God. And he don't give him no praise. Time and time again. I'm down and out. Lord to pick me up. Time and time again. Creating me a new heart. Yes, he does that. Time and time again. Make me over, Lord. He makes you over. Time and time again. We keep doing this and that. We start taking God's expectations for granted. Time and time again.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. Yes.
And the more you take his expectations for granted, the less and less your faith has some hold over your prayer. And guess what God does? He allows it to happen time and time again. And he'll keep bailing you out. But he keeps measuring you. And he's sizing you up. And I'm setting you up. Because next time, I'm going to let you fall. And then you're going to feel what it is.
Thank you, Lord.
Not to have me immediately pick. Oh, I'm about to bring that. Y'all going to pray a little bit more now. He will allow you to fall. But though I may fall, I will not be utterly cast down. Somebody needs to praise him. And even when God is trying to teach you a lesson, even when he's trying to teach you a lesson, he won't let it get too far that you utterly fall down. That when he teaches us, it's in a controlled environment where he is controlling everything that's around you. Even though you're out of control, he's controlling things around you that will not influence you to go deeper to the place that you're in, to not go deeper in the pit that you're in.
Thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus.
When you learn
deliverance ain't always a result. Your deliverance is being able to have peace. Am I talking to somebody? Your deliverance ain't always going to be an X and O, like problem solver answer, like you finally made a period on the end of this sentence. Sometimes life has commas. But God on your side will sustain you through all of the commas, the hurdles, the gaps, the pitfalls in your life, because He is the author and the finisher of our faith. That's why it pays to praise Him. So from now on, y'all want God to overflow? He asking you to overflow. All that mess y'all talking about, and God said, I want you to overflow. I want you to fill up my praise cup. I want you, I got cups in front of everybody in this church, and I want you to fill it up with a praise cup. That where Tasha Cobb said, I want to put a praise on it. She ain't saying I ain't asking. I said, I'm praise. You don't know what the answer is, but I'm going to put a praise. Oh, Lord. I'm going to promise you the last time. But when you put a praise on it, it don't matter the outcome. I'm going to preach somebody real good right now. In your heart of hearts. Because some things in your life you may want to protect, but God is trying to get rid of. But when you put a praise on it, you say, Lord, I may not like the outcome, but I'm going to praise you anyhow. Lord, you may be trying to remove some things in my life that should not be there in the beginning, and I'm just going to praise you for who you are, because you know me better than I know myself, because that very thing that I'm trying to pray for is inside my walls, and you're trying to knock my walls down. I've got to be open to receive whatever promise that you have for me. So when I don't like it, if I begin to praise my way through it, I begin to be able to deal with what you just promised somebody.
I just wanted to come and remind you to tune into us on Throwback Thursdays. Always stay tuned on your YouTube channel, because we'll always go back in time just to give you a new word. You never know when you need it next. Thanks for listening. Can't wait to see you next time.